to see some videos. And has everyone bought their tickets for Guardians of the Galaxy whenever it opens in your respective countries? I will be seeing it on Saturday. So we're pleased to talk to you again a little bit about some other video monetization opportunities. There'll be some demos, of course. There will also be some opportunities for Q&A. Really quickly, who here is a publisher? And who is a buyer? Okay, so we're almost 50-50, which is good. We'll be talking about things for everyone. The bar does open at 3, so we are going to try to go very quickly through some of this, but we will be available afterwards.
Great. It's great to be here again. And actually, we're really glad to be able to show you some additional technologies, tools, and ideas that we consider thinking outside the video box after you saw the earlier session on connected TV and long-form content. Some of the topics that we'd like to cover with you are what are the opportunities for you as publishers and buyers that are outside what we would consider the traditional video box. And by that, I mean just traditional pre-roll, in-stream inventory only. The other thing we want to talk about is connected TV is exciting and powerful, but also it's a relatively small slice of the bigger video pie. And video in general tends to be scarce, it's supply constrained. What can we do to open that up and create more of a video abundance? And then finally, we'd like to talk to you about some really interesting new models that are rolling out from AppNexus for video buying, different than what you've heard before, and also some ways to hit your KPIs on the video front as a buyer. So, as we said, connected TV as a percentage of supply today is probably less than 5% of the overall video media mix. We expect that to rise a lot, but we want to cover with you what can be done to improve that across all screens. Video watching and the number of users that are now online video viewers is pretty incredible. I think the average amount of video watched has been climbing. It's now more than an hour and 7 minutes. And you can contrast that with TV viewing, which I think in the US, I don't know the European numbers, has historically been at really high levels, like 3 or 4 hours. And as you heard earlier, so that's starting to come down, and these numbers are starting to go up and starting to accelerate. And the fact that we're at an hour plus is also a milestone that's pretty significant.
And while we spend a little over an hour each day watching digital video, there's still 250 minutes that we spend online not watching video. So we can't just get our message out in one place. So sometimes we need to do a mixture of different strategies in order to maximize, the audience that we need to reach. It would be great if we could watch Doctor Who every single day, or The Night Manager, or Crazy Heads, or The Falls, or all the other wonderful television that comes out of UK. But we have to check our mail, we have to check Facebook, we have to read the news. But the same audience that you would be checking or reaching on those shows, or Crazy Cat videos, you can also reach on traditional in-article sites. So I want to talk really briefly about some of the formats that we have in order to reach your audience. So when we talk about Outstream, we usually are referencing 3 different formats today: in-article, side stream, and banner stream. And we'll look at some demos or some different metrics for all of those. One of the great things that we've done when we've built these 3 units is we've actually built them in a way to give publishers a little bit more control about the experience on their sites. For content sites, the editorial team typically is king, and so they have tight controls on what can and cannot show on the user experience. Because at the end of the day, you have to make sure your viewers come back. So we have built over 30 customizable features in each of these formats so that publishers can choose what they want to serve. And then on the flip side, these units are all completely transparent for buyers. Definitely not a fan of arbitrage, where buyers think that they're buying a large player in content in the middle of an episode, and what they're getting is a smaller unit. They're paying premium prices, publishers are getting display prices, and the user loses. because we're usually hearing a very slow, very sound-on ad. So we're definitely advocates of new units where publishers have control and buyers have transparency and are paying the appropriate price for these units. So with our Outstream unit, as I mentioned, it has over 30 customizable features. It's typically done in an article page, so as you scroll down, the page expands. The ad only shows when it's in view. We've also put publisher controls in it so that if there is no ad, the page doesn't open. If for some reason you're working with a mediated unit that isn't going through AppNexus's audit, and it has some sort of ad manager or a vPage that's calling a secondary auction, then it will actually time out so that you're not stuck with an ugly black box. For buyers, if the ad never loads and goes in view and starts playing, you're not paying for it. So it's something that is a win-win for both parties. We also created, and we see this a lot in the States, where all of our content players now stay with you as you move down a page, particularly on news sites. This can also happen with our Outstream unit. You can actually, or in-article unit, you can actually move it so that it will follow down the page with the user. And if they are following the unit, they can actually still have sound on, or they can turn the sound off, but it will stay front of mind for them. With this unit, you can also control the player experience when it moves to the side of the page. You can choose where on the page it's going to show, how big it is or how small it is, so that it can still fit with the look and feel of your site. And then we have Banner Stream. There'll be a blog post coming out very soon on the problem with in-banner video. It's typically made out of arbitrageurs. The units are extremely heavy. They actually affect the look and feel of the site. They can slow down the loading of the site. So we created a very transparent to buyers unit that is built on very lightweight HTML5. It loads just as quickly as your page is going to load. You still have the controls that you would have with our other Outstream units. And the great thing about this is it can actually compete with display ads. So you don't have to, from a publisher perspective, choose, is this a video space or is this a display space? You can actually have them compete in what's known as a super auction. And so what's great about that is I may have a video ad that wants to display to an American woman, but then I may have a display ad that is looking to sell the Garmin 935 XT watch to a runner for $600, and they're willing to pay more money than the video ad. You can actually have them compete against each other, and the one with the highest price will win. So let's actually take a quick look at some of these units.
So what you're seeing here is both the multimedia super auction, which is the term we use to describe what Michelle is talking about, together with a banner stream unit. So the unit on the left is just a banner stream player. It's a fixed width video player. And you mouse over it to turn on sound. It behaves in a way that's very similar to the in-article Outstream unit. So if we scroll up, it pauses. And it plays when it comes back into view. You can get a more cinematic full-screen experience from this player. We've gotten a lot of high marks in terms of high performance and very low latency for people who have been using it, for clients who've been using it. And on the right side is a banner ad for Gillette. If I hit refresh on the page, we may get a banner ad or we may get a video ad, because right now we're running this super auction. For the purposes of the demo, we actually have the CPM set at $1, and it's set to basically randomly pick the winner as a result. But for real-world use cases, as Michelle was identifying, effectively whichever unit has the higher price wins. Typically, video will have a higher CPM, so if you have video fill, it will win. But the interesting thing about this is it's really applicable to any display publisher who would like to monetize with video. And as far as transparency, what Michelle is referring to is we actually signal on the bid request the distinction between pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll, outstream, and banner stream as different formats on an OpenRTB extension. And we've worked with the OpenRTB working group to turn this into a standard in the upcoming version of OpenRTB, which is 2.5. So that way it will be fully available to all bidders, all buyers, et cetera, and really change the dynamics, as we said, to move away from in-banner video to a new world where buyers know what they're getting. Units are priced in a way that makes sense for what they are and what you're having. And so we see the spectrum of pricing from display at one end, really premium pre-roll up at the high end, and then other options with outstream and banner stream that give you a spectrum. Of course, this varies a lot based on premium publisher and where the unit is running and other attributes, but that's the general idea. Anyway, that gives you a quick view. We did announce actually last week that Microsoft with MSN has rolled this out into many countries around the world and is seeing very strong results, very significant revenue lift when they're using the combination of multimedia super auction and banner stream. It's on MSN in the homepage in a number of markets here in Europe, so very excited about that.
And just really quickly, while Eric loads up the next demo, all of these units work on mobile just like they work on desktop.
We also, in addition to our own outstream unit, we have partnerships with other players in the space as video SSPs, Teads, and Unruly. And this is courtesy of Unruly. It's just an example of vertical video. And you saw a lot of 16 by 9 widescreen aspect ratio video this morning. Let me play that again. This is a different dimension. I mean, everything gets flipped, and it's 9 by 16. And of course, this was really, this exploded quite a bit with Snapchat, and it's this more immersive, mobile-friendly focused format. Interestingly enough, the same format can potentially work in banner stream as a right rail kind of unit, which gives you an economy of scale for content creation. And various partners of ours are creating what you could call vertical video marketplaces that bring together buyers and sellers around this particular format. So that's kind of an interesting other format to take a look at. All right, I think we cut to slides now. We wanted to just intersperse some of the demos and content here today and see if anyone has any questions relating to the different format topics we covered. We could probably take a question or two. Any questions? Yeah.
Hold on.
I think,
the mic's coming.
Mic around.
I have a question regarding the mobile. You said it works on mobile, but I know that you don't have yet SDK, mobile SDK to make it in-app. Do you know more or less by when you would have it?
And by that, do you mean to bring outstream and banner stream to in-app?
Yes.
Because my next demo is actually the mobile app SDK from AppNexus supporting pre-roll video, which is a major first step for us in the direction of what you're describing. We haven't set the exact timing, but it's becoming an increasingly popular request for us to deliver outstream and banner stream within a mobile SDK context. So let us get back to you, but I think sometime this year would definitely be an auspicious time to do it, given the increasing interest from those publishers who are building mobile apps.
And if you can, I can't see you because there's blinding lights, but if you can see me afterwards, we're actually looking, when we come into some of the SDK formats, we're actually looking to talk to both buyers and sellers about the behavior that they would want to see in that SDK, because depending on how you've built the app, it's a little bit more rigid than normal mobile web. So I would love to talk to you or anyone else further.
Yeah, please come talk to us afterwards so we can gather up some functional requirements. All right, let's move on. So we talked about the fact that these type of units allow those publishers who have massive scale or medium scale on the display front to light up additional video inventory. And it's worth noting that the outstream format has gained pretty significant ascendance in the last couple of years. I'm sure many of you heard about the acquisition of Teads by Altice. That was kind of a big event. And many premium sites that are working with AppNexus, Teads, or Unruly have been adopting these kind of formats and lighting up a lot more supply that's available to buyers. For mobile, you really queued this question up, thank you. We are excited to announce that really just in the last 30 days, we rolled out the AppNexus iOS and Android mobile SDKs with support for pre-roll and in-stream video, and we're live in the App Store with publishers who are using it, and they've given us extremely high marks for very low latency playback of video in those environments. The playback can be virtually instantaneous, and our clients who are using it also with our video ad server, so you can serve direct demand into your mobile app as well as programmatic monetization. And actually the story is even richer than that, because in addition to kind of standard RTB plus direct demand, our SDK also supports video mediation, which means if you have other video demand partners you want to plug in as demand sources, you can do that with our mobile SDK. So it's got a lot of power and flexibility in that regard. You heard about our Apple TV SDK. We're super excited about that. Another chance to open up new classes of supply for video and beat the scarcity problem. We hope many of you will consider doing that. And let's cut to the demo, just to give you a quick view of the mobile video SDK in action. In fact, this example, I think, uses mediation. We have the sound. And you can see from the controls that are available there, it has a very similar look and feel to our standard web player. Also, there was a touch through there instead of a click through when the user touches the screen. That went to an AirServe page, the landing page for a partner of ours. And in addition, you've got standard controls that you would want there. We can keep the audio low on this, a little bit lower, for being able to mute and being able to skip. You'll notice down below we're showing all of the different tracking events that you have full access to in the app in terms of receiving an ad, the different quartile trackers for VAST, the skip events, the mute events. We have a really nice, simple, easy-to-use, and well-documented API for both iOS and Android for using the video SDK. We'd really encourage you to check it out. There's full documentation on the wiki. And the product's gone through a fair amount of battle testing. And as we said, it's in production in both app stores and working extremely well, also in conjunction with our ad server. All right. Back to slides, please. Oh, yeah. So we figure we take another question or two if anyone has one.
Hi. Earlier on in your presentation, you talked about smart TV platforms and listening to smart TV devices.
Mm-hmm.
Is that via the data from the actual TV device or from the apps running on the smart TV platform?
This is the standard type of data that is coming through Device Atlas that we've integrated into the AppNexus platform for all the different, basically, user agents that are coming through.
Yeah, so it would be the device itself, whether it's my Blu-ray player or my Samsung TV or Roku.
Okay.
So while it would, is there another question? Or you were getting it back, sorry. So while it would be great if I could spend all of my time watching Doctor Who and American football, it's not the only place I'm on the internet. So, it's important to be able to reach the audiences you need and the message wherever they are. And so right now, the video market very much is guaranteed buys that you set up, buyer and seller, deals, and then a waterfall where you may or may not be able to get your audience. It is possible that even if you were willing to pay the most premium of prices, by the time it gets to where you may be in the waterfall, that audience has left. They're moving on to something else. And so it's really important, to be able to have programmatic buying compete with direct buys, with deals, because you never know how much television I'm actually going to watch at any one time, or how much time I'm going to spend on a particular site. So you need programmatic to take that fill. Earlier I had mentioned the horror of watching the same commercial breaks hour after hour after hour. I recently had knee surgery, and so I was on bed rest and watched more television than I think I have in years. And it really was the same 6 ads. And if programmatic was plugged in appropriately, I should have more variety. I shouldn't be able to memorize a Geico ad or a Home Depot ad. I should see things that are more relevant to me. So, there's a couple of ways to do this. Anytime you buy off of an AppNexus ad-serving client, as a buyer, we compete. Direct sales, deals, programmatic all compete against each other, ensuring that any guaranteed deals are still fulfilling in full. We use YieldX forecasting to make sure we've got that data so that they're still delivering. But if the runner happened to be benched and watching television, you can still advertise that watch to her higher up in the chain before she leaves. But not every publisher uses our ad server yet. So we've also added header bidding, which helps buyers also get more access to their audiences when their audiences are ripe for the message.
And as you probably heard, we had a major announcement at AppNexus this week with server-to-server header bidding capability, a very cool major advance for the company that plugs right into prebid.js. And in last December, we announced our support for video header bidding in prebid.js. We have multiple clients that are monetizing now using this. Our initial integration that we've rolled out with is with DFP for video header bidding. And we posted to prebid.js, prebid.org, the website, I think it's 5 major video player integrations that show how to take your player and integrate it with our video header bidding solution. And we will be looking similarly for server to server at how we can integrate video into that same environment. So watch the space on that point. Why don't we switch to the demo now? This is a demo of our current prebid.js solution for video header bidding. And this is particularly interesting. We've been out making the statement that video header bidding can reduce latency. There's been all kinds of articles and editorials about how it can slow down pages. One of the reasons we're making this statement is because you can start sourcing the demand for the video as the page is loading, as opposed to when the user clicks the play button. So in the example I have queued up here, couldn't resist bringing the dancing babies in at some point during the event. The video ad for this commercial was sourced when the page was loaded, so that by the time I clicked play, it's already available and can play almost instantaneously. And this is actually not just a single video, this is actually a playlist you're watching that has multiple video clips, and each one of them has effectively a pre-roll ad in front of it. So while you've been watching this ad with these wonderful babies dancing, we've already sourced the video demand for the next video ad that you haven't seen yet using video header bidding. The demand is sourced in parallel from different demand partners, which is happening using demand adapters. This is now the content video. It happens to be a movie trailer in this case. But when I jump to the next video, that video demand has already been sourced for this spot when we were playing the first one, and so on and so forth, meaning when this was loading, we've actually loaded the video ad for the third clip in this playlist. And this is all actually online and available to you, and you can check it out directly on prebid.js yourself. We've got the source code there. You can see how we built it so that you can build your own to do the same kind of thing. So we're really intrigued with the possibilities here. I think one thing that you have to realize is it's much harder to compete in a video header bidding world from a CPM standpoint, because the publishers are getting much higher CPMs. We're talking now, $8, $10, $12, $15 to $20. So buyers need to think about their buying strategies to compete in an open exchange environment for sure, to be able to win that inventory. And I think there's still some market education and some market development that has to happen before this can happen at a broader scale, because the CPMs are now so much higher. All right, hope you also enjoyed the surfing babies while we did that demo. I do love that video. Okay, we can see if there are any questions now. There must be some skeptics or passionate fans of video header bidding here, I know it.
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
When you mentioned that you sourced the second ad, how long does that, like, you know, is it 10 minutes that it's still available, or how long do we
That's a
have
good
to see that?
question. Yeah. So sourcing of the ad is certainly going to be a function of the type of partners that you have and how long it takes them to respond. So the current version of video header bidding from AppNexus, I think we actually have 5 demand adapters. We haven't actually done a lot of publicity around who the partners are. And there's some exciting developments in that area, by the way. Please watch this space to see what we've got coming up. So can't talk about some of it. But in terms of what we're seeing, you know, it's similar to display header bidding in some way, in that it can take anywhere from 150 to maybe 700 milliseconds or more to get a response. There are some video demand adapter or partner providers that could be in excess of a second. And keep in mind, this is just to get their response. And we mentioned at an event in New York on pre-bid that through the AppNexus audit process, our goal is to not allow ad managers that run secondary auctions to be in the mix for this. Because if you're doing that, then if you think about it, you're creating an incredibly inefficient process where you're sourcing video demand, and then as soon as you hit the play button, you're then sourcing video demand again. So we don't think that that's a good approach. I have to actually guard against it very carefully. So that's one step that helps to cut down the time. And if you do that, and you're more just looking at how long it takes to respond with a valid VAST or VPaid creative, and when I say a valid VPaid creative, I mean one that's not an ad manager, then you're usually looking at about a second or less. And everyone's being sourced in parallel, so it's not a waterfall. And for that reason, you should be able to get your video demand back within a second. Could be longer, but remember with pre-bid, you have the option of setting a deadline. And in that case, if you have 10 partners and 5 of them are more than a second and 5 are less, and you set the deadline to 1 second, you'll get your 5 demand sources back in those 5 seconds.
And I think that the amount of time that it
1
can
second.
be in storage, is it 6 hours like mediation or with our overlay player?
Yeah.
So they have 6 hours to get through the content for the next ad break.
Yeah, because it's sourced in advance. That's a good point. Yep. Okay.
So for the buyers in the room, video buying shouldn't be the exact same way it was in display when I started in the industry 15 years ago. So we've added some very specific video metric targeting, which we'll talk about. We'll also talk a little bit about programmable video and some things that are coming soon to really add more ways to make sure that you are meeting your advertisers' needs. So available today, and depending on what sessions you've been to, we announced that you can now transact on some key buying metrics. So you can actually target videos that on average have a certain completion rate, and you can set the percentage, or target the IAB video viewability metrics so that your ads will show on sites that have a higher completion rate, or spots that have a higher completion rate or a higher viewability rate. So this is definitely, when you have very sensitive metrics, a way to make sure that you are achieving maximum outcomes for your advertisers.
Yep. And that's available, by the way, now both through the API and the UI, which is a new key development for AppNexus for video, that you can do both completion rate and viewability rate targeting through AppNexus consistently. And it's worth noting these are the 2 primary KPIs that we see a large amount of the time that buyers are trying to hit. There are others, could be delivery, offline transaction rates, delivery on premium sites, et cetera, but those are 2 that are constantly bubbling up to the top. And on a related note, we're really excited that the AppNexus programmable bidder enables the very beginning of what we call programmable video. And this has to do with the fact that we've integrated the video viewability data that's collected through the video viewability platform in AppNexus using the IAB definition of video viewability so that it's an integral parameter, which is actually called an engineered feature that you can use within the AppNexus programmable bidder. And so you can include it in the bidding strategies that you develop with the AppNexus programmable bidder. So for example, and it's shown up here in the bonsai language, which is what's used to build decision trees in APB, you can basically say, if the video viewability is greater than 60%, then bid $2.50, or more likely $25 if it's really good video. Otherwise, don't bid at all. And then the example that's below that is based on segments. So, if you see that these 3 segments are active and the video viewability is, let's say, above a threshold, then compute some new variable that's 3 times the value of the video viewability and use it in this equation to help determine, my proprietary secret sauce algorithm for how to bid on this user. You can also use variables, or features, in APB that relate to like day parting, weather, segments, demographics, et cetera, as well as video, and kind of put that all into the mix of how you use APB. And this is what we were referring to before about new models for buying video. This is a really intriguing one. It's one that's very unique to AppNexus. We would strongly encourage you to explore it. And quite a few clients have been using APB. I can't remember the exact count, but I think we're in the 40 to 50 range for that capability. And then just the other thing, we don't have a slide on it, but it was discussed in the ALI and console session earlier, is AppNexus has announced buying on viewable, called exchange traded views. This is really more buying on outcomes. So instead of buying on CPM, you're actually buying on performance. And in this case, the performance is ensuring that a user is viewing display, which is what they talked about as the media format in ALI and console, which is what's currently live in production. But we do have coming soon, planned to be in Q3, the ability to do this for video, which is really exciting. So basically think of this as kind of viewable currency for video.